It's day 3 of our journey down Marine Highway 84, the longest inland waterway on the West Coast. Over the past 2 days, we traveled down the lower Snake River, passing 3 sets of locks and dams before reaching the mouth of the river. We're halfway through our journey, moving 14,000 tons of grain, 350 miles, and traveling through some of the most historic and breathtaking scenery of the entire trip.
The sun is just coming up Wednesday morning east of Rufus.
So this is one of the easier stretches because it's nice and wide. There's no bridges or dams to go through or anything like that. So this is one of the better stretches of river that guys like.
How many hours do you work on? How many hours off? And how do you rest in between?
6 hours on, 6 hours off. So my shift ends at 6 in the morning. So then I'll just shower, eat breakfast, lay down, hopefully sleep as much as I can. And then I'll get up and start my next watch at noon. 6 on, 6 off for a week, and yeah, it's hard.
It's about 6:30 a.m. on Wednesday morning, and we are coming up on the John Day Navigation Lock. What makes this dam unique, and what makes it a special challenge?
I think that rock that they left in on the approach there is one of the most difficult things. It's off to the right there as we make our approach, so we can't get lined up as good as we would like. We have to go around that rock and then get lined up for the lock. So I have to take a little detour around it, which makes it an awkward approach. If we could go straight in, it may be a lot safer. But
Coming to the John Day Lock, we're passing one of the more notable landmarks, the Green Monster. This rock is on the right-hand side of any vessel coming to the upstream side of the lock, and it's left over from the original dam construction. You see, John Day Dam was the only dam built in the middle of the existing navigation corridor, meaning that there were dams and navigation locks with active traffic both downstream and upstream of this spot on the river. So during construction, they had to accommodate existing barge traffic. The solution was to blast out a huge trench out of solid rock 100 feet deep in the right-hand abutment of the dam. We're passing over that trench right now, and the Green Monster rock is just a leftover. It seems like the blasting crew should have taken care of that back in 1974. John Day Dam also features not just the highest navigation lock on the Columbia Snake River system, but it's the highest navigation lock in the entire Western Hemisphere. I think you have to go to China to find a lock with a higher single lift than this one. At maximum conditions, it can lift ships something like 110 feet. It's crazy. On the surface, John Day Dam is one of the more, let's say, boring looking dams on the system. It's just a straight line, straight across from bank to bank. But when you look closer, there's things about this dam that make it totally unique. For one thing, its size. It is by far the highest of the run-of-the-river dams on the system. The power plant is the 3rd largest producer of hydropower in the Northwest, behind only Grand Coulee and Chief Joseph. This dam also has the distinction of being the only run-of-the-river dam that also does flood control. Those are usually mutually exclusive. Typically, a run-of-the-river dam just passes the flow downstream and doesn't have the ability to store much behind it. But because this dam is higher and this stretch of the river is flatter, John Day actually impounds an enormous reservoir. And an extra 1, 2, or even 5 feet of storage actually adds up to a whole lot of acre feet, which means this dam is able to work in concert with other storage dams in the region to help prevent downstream flooding. And so, while John Day may look pretty run-of-the-mill to the average viewer, it's one of the more critical pieces of our hydropower and flood control system. The upstream lock gate has been closed. Any minute now, we're going to start to go down. Wow, we are dropping fast. This feels so much faster than at the other dams. Once they open the valves all the way, the weight of this water rushes out with a ton of momentum, causing us to drop fastest in the upper third of the lock. Gosh, it's been 90 seconds, we're already 40-some feet down. When you're in the lock, what are the things you're watching out for? What are you monitoring, and what are the potential dangers?
there have been cases in the past at other dams where if the barges have an angle outward, they've been known to hang up on the lock wall, and then one barge actually flipped inside the lock chamber. So I'm watching for any movement, any lines that might start to hang up, it would be a good warning sign, would be a line starting to break. But there's always a possibility if it were to hang up, I could drive and try to free it up.
This is incredible. I mean, all the locks are big, but this is something else. This is the largest single lift lock chamber in the Western Hemisphere. And the gate is opening. I'm genuinely speechless. This was completely filled with water 5 minutes ago. Like all of the locks, the push starts out pretty slow. Got to be careful how much water you push in front of the vessel. Because the majority of freight on the river is heading downstream, there's a compounding effect with each dam as you go further down. At the very top of the system, Lower Granite might only see 1, maybe 2 locks per day, but every single barge that went out of the Port of Lewiston also goes through this lock here at John Day, which means that the river gets more crowded the further downstream you go, making each piece of infrastructure that much more critical. Just incredible. I truly believe that if people could see this infrastructure in the flesh up close, you'd have appreciation for it too.
Brother Lincoln, good morning.
Good morning. Looks like we're setting up well for port to port.
That sounds really good. We'll get over a little bit and we'll see you on the port side.
So tell us about who that was and why it matters.
Oh, at the American Harmony, one of the cruise boats that comes up here, and they like to make passing arrangements just because they have passengers. They like to be safe.
Yeah! All right! The little kid in me that wants the trucks to honk. So I know a lot of people who have traveled this way are wondering what is with the big green barge that is perpetually anchored offshore here by Biggs.
That elevator is built right in a rocky area. To get in and in there, you have to go in with one barge at a time and out with one barge, so you can't go in there and pick it up with the full tow. So you have to have a place to park your tow while you go and get the barge or put another barge in. Couldn't service this elevator from the spud barge. So.
We are passing over one of the most significant sites on the entire Columbia River, Celilo Falls. Since time immemorial, this spot right here was a gathering place for First Nations from all over the Pacific Northwest. A massive salmon harvest would happen every spring and every fall. Goods were traded, families reunited, and this place was a hub of culture and commerce for literally tens of thousands of years. You wouldn't know it today, but this used to be the most treacherous stretch of water on the entire lower Columbia River, the Long Narrows, or the Dalles. This is a spot where the river dropped into what was essentially a slot canyon, about a mile long and in places 200 feet deep. Wow, look at that spot right there, right behind the dam, 264 feet deep. This stretch of river was considered impassable even by the natives. But this spot right here, this is why the Dalles Dam and really the entire slackwater navigation system exists. Instead of this being a graveyard for boat captains, it's a relatively calm, flat piece of water to navigate. Behind me is the Dalles Dam on the lower Columbia River. Starting downstream, it's the second of a series of 8 dams providing slackwater navigation from the mouth of the Columbia at Astoria all the way to Lewiston, Idaho. The Dalles Dam is notable for a number of reasons, one of them being its unusual shape. It takes a long zigzag pattern instead of going directly across. That was to take advantage of the unusual topography of the site. The Long Narrows was immediately upstream, and a large amount of rock outcroppings on the Washington side of the river were already visible. Because of this, they were able to build the power plant, the spillway, and the navigation lock basically on dry ground. The only part of the dam that's actually in the river channel is that earthen portion right over there. Today, it's one of the largest hydropower producing facilities in the Pacific Northwest, featuring state-of-the-art fish passage and one of the busiest navigation locks in the region. Speaking of which, we are pulling up to that navigation lock right now. So Captain, what's unusual about this lock, or what makes it challenging or easy?
You can get fairly close, it's pretty deep, but I try not to get too close. There's a certain distance off you want to be.
So he's counting down.
Yeah.
What is that?
On my lead barge, I'm trying to get
32.
close, but not so close that my drag barge will get the end of that guide wall. So the wind is pushing me more right now than anything. I got to drive at that wall and then turn to avoid getting the end of it.
25.
So at what point do you start to make the turn?
When I know the bow's gonna clear that guide wall on the left, the knuckle. Looking a little bit better. I was a little too far out, but I think.
What are you doing with the engines?
I'm backing on this one to try to slow my speed down and trying to drive the right side so I can have steerage without gaining a lot of speed. My drag barge is close enough now that I feel a little bit more comfortable with it.
Are you at all worried about hitting anything?
No, because I think I can stop now as long as I don't close on that wall too fast.
All right, I'm feeling a lot of shaking up here. What is that? Is that the wind? Is that the engines?
Oh, I'm backing pretty hard, and it's shallow water here, so it makes sometimes it makes the tow handle a little bit strange.
Oh, interesting. So it's shallow here, so there's not a lot of room for the water to move.
No, and sometimes the harder you back, the worse the tow can handle.
So where does this lock rank in the difficulty of the eight different dams?
It's my least favorite, I think, because it's windy here all the time. Coming in with empties, you gotta really drive in here hard and fast, and then.
Really, even harder than John Day.
Yeah, I'd rather do John Day than this. So now that bow's in the hole, we can flatten out and put it the rest of the way in.
So we're still inside the Dalles lock, and the King Kong doors are not opening yet, but I can see just a sliver of daylight through them, which tells me that things have equalized and now it's starting to open. For the majority of this trip, we've been transporting 3 barges of a total maximum of 4. We're gonna pick up that 4th barge here in the Dalles. In fact, it's just right down there up the river. But that spot in the river is not deep enough for us to be able to take the entire tow right up to that spot. So the captain is gonna drop these 3 off and tie them up on the bank here, and then drive the tugboat to pick up our 4th load. And then return to this spot to put it all back together.
Okay, we're free.
So now it's just the tugboat, free and powered in the river. Should be pretty straightforward to go downriver and pick up our 4th barge. All right, just eyeballing it, what's your opinion of that load up ahead?
It's a good looking load, pretty flat side to side as well as end to end. It might have about a 6-inch port list, but we can live with that.
What are the consequences of a sloppy load?
The push knees on each end, you've got opposite lists or one with a really bad list. The push knees won't lock up. They've got to interlock.
All right, we left our original 3 barges tied up on the river over there, and now we're over here to get barge number 4. This looks like a pretty tight squeeze up against that cliff. What's your strategy?
Yeah, I'm just going to drive right in there like I own the place. The water's good right up to the cliff. It's 76 feet deep right here, and it's probably 76 feet deep right over there as well.
You just docked with this vessel remarkably fast.
You're flattering me. It's just what we do.
Well, he did it. 1 more barge attached. Now we're going to go across the river and join it with the other 3. Then we'll have everything we need to continue down the river.
I think we'll plug this 24 into 46 there. What do you think of that?
Sounds like a plan. And another 100 to go by and we're 17 off.
What are you watching for as we do this complicated maneuver?
We can't hit this barge that we're about to go by. And so I'm just giving him numbers as far as how far ahead and how far off we are of it. And then he's steering based off of what I'm giving him. And then now the big thing is how far in between us and the next barge in front of us, because we don't want to ram into it too hard. And then we have to put these knees on the outside of those knees to lock in. And so I'm just telling him if he needs to come right or left and how far in between. And 18 in between, good for lock. 7, half inch to the right, 5 in between, just need an inch to the right, 4 in between, and we're locked in. I'll put some wires in. Mike's so good, he makes it look easy every time. So now that we're locked in, I'm gonna put all these wires out and then that's it. There'll be 3 sets of wires on each endo and then that holds it together real strong. And then we have opposing wires on the bow of the barge and the stern of the barge. And then wires that go horizontally are called breasts. We have a bunch of those all throughout the tow. We just want it super strong and solid. Never ending.
So what are these 2 lines connected to?
So that was connecting the barge that we're made up to this barge right here. And we call that an endo. And we'll put out 2 more wires on each side. And then that's how you build an endo. It takes a little time. So we got all 6 wires on, and then now we're just getting them as tight as possible. And then once we cut the tow loose, things will shift around again, and so we'll tighten them again. And then every time we stop somewhere, like going through a dam or something, we'll tighten them again. It's hard work and long hours, but your sons could be good tugboaters. We're ready to head downriver.
All right, we have just detached from our parking spot here in the Dalles. Now we're ready to take our full 4 barge tow all the way down the river.